hi, and welcome to the Spiritual Co-op. I know, I'm not Andrew. It's Leslie here today. And as part of the Getting to Know You interviews that Andrew has been doing, we're turning the tables and I'm going to be interviewing Andrew Yeo. Hi, Andrew, how are you?
Hello, hello. This is really, it's quite bizarre being on the other side. I'm not used to it.
Oh, what piercing questions can I ask you?
I, this is what I put everyone through because I don't tell anyone the questions that I'm about to ask.
Yes, and I have my little list of probing questions to go inside the soul, the spirit, and the world of Andrew.
That'll be wonderful. That'll be wonderful.
All right. So obviously you are the founder of the Spiritual Co-op, and I would like to talk about that a little bit later. But first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, just in general.
Just in general. So I was born in Malaysia, raised in Singapore and Thailand, educated in Canada, and I've lived in Australia for the last 25 years. So this is home right now. And I've recently moved to the south coast of New South Wales at Burrell Lake and enjoying coastal life. This city boy is really, really enjoying coastal life. Where do I even start with this? Because there's so much to go. I guess my journey has been wide and varied, and you could call me a dabbler because I've dabbled in so many different things. But one of the major things for me is that I've come to learn to love myself. And in doing all the things that I do, from opening day spas to starting a tea company to my speaking engagement profile at I'm Andrew Yeo and the Spiritual Co-op, all of these little bits have actually got me to understanding who I am a little bit more. And that's where my spiritual journey has started, is by finding me.
And that was going to be my next question, because you're being a Sagittarian like myself, you're really good at dovetailing lots of different things and bringing them together in a new way. So how did your spiritual journey begin? Was there a defining moment, or did it just sort of creep up on you?
Actually, there's a few different things that came about to it. I think I've always been very spiritual. I grew up in a very Christian Catholic family. And spirituality was always part of that. But it never really resonated with me. And as young as I can remember, I always used to play with imaginary friends. I would talk to people. I would go shopping with these people when I was a little kid. So you can already tell, that was very much part of who I am. And really, the thing that really started my spiritual journey was aromatherapy. It is something that I've always loved. I love, the sense of smell, the intrigue, the memory that comes out from, using aromatherapy. And when I was living in Canada, I actually got my first aromatherapy book. And that's when I just absolutely fell in love and started experimenting with it all. I didn't realize, but later on, when I moved to Sydney and after my grandfather died, that was when I started realizing a lot of my gifts. And I found out later on by going through my Akashic records that a lot of my gifts have been hereditary. It's been passed down from the males in my mother's side to me, and we've all been quite intuitive, psychic healers in that way. So my great-grandfather was a herbalist who was also a healer.
And isn't it interesting how we think we're doing something new, we think we're discovering something new, but it's already within us through not only through our physical family lineage, but through our spiritual lineage as well.
That's exactly right. And for some reason, when it is so ingrained into who you are, even without you knowing it, no matter what you do, it kind of leads you to it. It's like the universe pushing you and nudging you, because um, my educational background has got nothing to do with any of this. I have a degree in hospitality, in marketing and management. I have a master's in management, and when I left uni, I thought, what am I going to do? And so I followed in my father's footsteps and actually went into hospitality. And I worked for the Raffles Hotels International for about 5 years. Yeah, running their day spa. And it's really interesting because as a child, and I tell this story all the time with Teapot Teas, as a child, I used to have a little friend called Jean-Louis, and he lived at the Raffles in Singapore. And we used to go there as a child. I used to go there as a child and play with him while having high tea on those wrought iron tables with tiers of cucumber sandwiches and, beautiful bone china teapots, drinking tea out of it. And yeah, so, it's interesting that years and years later that I come to work for the Raffles International and running the day spa side of things, which really brought together all my different modalities of, Reiki, massage, beauty therapy, and creating a space where people can come to relax and heal.
And
Yeah,
have you found as time has gone on that one of the things I noticed myself, because I have a bit of a marketing PR background as well, and I've noticed that when I look back spiritually, it's like, well, that wasn't really important. But then when we look at what we're doing with our spiritual work now, those mundane skill sets are becoming very, very handy.
exactly. And that's why, I don't feel as though you can go wrong in your life. Life pushes you in directions. If something is not working, it will push you to somewhere that it will make it flow. It will make you grow, and it will make you learn from those experiences. So, people ask, would you do things differently? And I'm like, yeah, some things I would, but majority of times, those little things have led me to where I am. If I didn't work for the Raffles Hotels, I wouldn't be in day spas. And if I didn't have a day spa, I wouldn't have opened up my own day spa called the Terra Spa Retreat. And I wouldn't have been working with all these holistic practitioners and start the tea company, because that's where Teapot Teas started.
And that was going to be one of my questions.
Your
How did
questions.
you start Teapot Teas? Because they're
Well,
wonderful.
oh, thank you. Teapot Teas, I guess, from my early childhood of being at Raffles and loving tea, I've always had this affinity to tea. And when I opened up Terra Spa Retreat, my first spa in Surrey Hills, one of the things that I wanted was a tea dispensary. So this is a 5 treatment room, 100 square meter spa with 12 therapists, all specialists, from acupuncturists to beauty to massage to naturopaths, herbalists. And so I started this tea dispensary, and the tea dispensary was one of my favorite things. And um, because, you feel like this alchemist, when you're mixing the herbs and you're playing around with the smells, and someone will walk in the door and say, I need something for this, and you're mixing things up. And so that's how I actually started with the teas. We started with 10 flavors that were made for therapeutic benefit. And let's face it, there's no such thing as therapeutic tea that tastes nice. It is.
Having had some tisanes in the past therapeutically, I can wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. So when I finally closed down the day spa, and I moved in and worked in a holistic pharmacy, and I co-owned this holistic pharmacy, I thought I need to bring the teas into this pharmacy, this holistic pharmacy. And also I needed to make it more commercial and more accessible, because if I love tea, I need to share my passion with the world about it, and it's got to taste nice. So my training in hospitality and working as a chef, I thought I need to use that side of me, the herbalist side of me, and combine that. And so lemon tart with a heart was the first to say, and that was actually conjured up. And within a week I had 15 flavors. Within 2 weeks I had 24 flavors and a whole range of teas for different, tisanes for different ailments. And I think that really excited me a lot because I wanted to make it quirky. I wanted to have it therapeutic and taste nice and have the intention behind it. So all of that came about all at once.
And I feel that underlying, I mean, even when you first open up one of your beautiful teas and you just inhale, you can feel the energy, the intention, and the underlying spirituality that sits underneath everything that you do. That to me, I guess the question is, how do you apply your spirituality, your personal spirituality, within the work that you do?
Within the work that I do, yeah. Well, for those who don't know, I have a blending studio, which is my office as well. And this blending studio is gridded with record keepers, little crystal record keepers that keeps the integrity of the blender as well as the teas. Each of the teas and tisanes also resonate and is infused with the energy of a specific crystal. All those crystals fit on a flower of life, and before they leave to go out into the world, they get a sound bath of crystal bowls as well. So this is a real intentional tea. Yeah. And certain of our crystals, especially the one for We Are All One, which is a Herkimer diamond and clear quartz, has been to Egypt 4 times, where we have done ceremony in all the major temples during blood moons and eclipses. And, so it really touches on all the energetics of all of that as well.
I have to tell you, We Are All One is my favorite tea, and I love ancient Egyptian culture and mysticism, so no wonder I love it. No wonder it's my favorite.
That's probably why it resonates with you. And and you even look at it, the ancient Egyptian civilization was a melting pot, and was it was the gateway and portal to all of these intergalactic energies, and tapping into our earth as well. So it ties everything up, and that's why the names are so important for me, because We Are All One was blended as a cosmic tea that is all encompassing. So with that one I've chosen different parts of the plants, from the roots, the fruit, the flowers, the berries, the buds, and I've also included ingredients from 5 different continents, so it covers our entire world.
Yeah, so beautiful. And when I think of you, I have to say, Andrew, I think of you as the alchemist. I really do. Whether it be blending teas, whether it be running day spas, whatever it is, there is this ability that you seem to have to bring very differing things together and be able to make them feel blended to others, to make them feel one with whatever it is that you're doing. I just find that's amazing. So moving on to the spiritual co-op, how did that come about?
Really, the spiritual co-op was a bit of an accident.
Some of the best things are.
I know. And the spiritual co-op actually started with my partner, Kane. We were looking at the Teapot Tea's website, and we thought we need to find a way to increase traffic into it. How do we do the SEOs and all of that, the search engine optimizer? And without me knowing, and I'm a bit of a control freak, so I like to know what's happening. He bought a website, he registered the domain and started building a website, and he's like, think of a name. And I went, the spiritual co-op, and all of a sudden I had a third business that I was running. And, you know, being a co-op, it can't just be me. So I started ringing up all my friends that I know in this industry and going, hey, I've just started something, would you like to be a part of it? This is a great platform for us to share our experiences, support one another, and also use what limited resources we have. If we can pull all of our strengths and resources together, we can, bring something, put ourselves out there in a much more amazing way. And, and with all our little networks, it's like the whole thing of just being interconnected, and that little spider web that spreads out. This is what I wanted to do for the spiritual co-op, was to really help practitioners like us who have been sitting at the back of our businesses, hiding behind our, our labels, our modalities, and to be able to come out and share everything they do.
I can honestly
all the
say I'm
people.
guilty. I was guilty of that. Definitely. Definitely. Hey, you got me on camera.
I know. Isn't that amazing? And doing lives.
And doing lives, the whole, and got me singing now. My goodness, no, we're not doing that today.
Yeah,
So
and I think this,
yeah,
yeah,
no, please go on.
the spiritual co-op for me is very, very personal, because one of the things that I've had to work with, coming out on the LGBTQI spectrum, being gay myself and not having that acceptance and that community, I decided that I really needed to create a space that was safe for everyone. Even in spirituality, we have to come out of the closet and embrace our weirdness, or embrace our gifts. And in many ways that mirrored my coming out as a gay man as well, and trying to find my way in spirituality, in everything that I do, and bring everything together and find that sense of community. And I think, that's why I was saying before, everything that in my journey that I've had to do has come down to self-acceptance of who I am, and doing it in authenticity. And when you have both of these playing together, it allows you to bring people together. It allows people to show up, show their authenticity, live in their authenticity, and show people their self-acceptance and accept the people around them. And I guess this is what the spiritual co-op is about as well. It's a place where we're bridging spirituality with everyday life, because it comes to a point we can't compartmentalize things anymore. We can't fold it nicely into a little package, put it in little bento boxes and tuck it under the bed. There comes a time where we really need to show up. And I think we're coming into that time, space, and energy right now, that people like us who have been doing the work, people like us who are on the path, people like us who are starting, people who are starting on the path, need to find their space where they can express themselves. They can find their authenticity, and they can, where it's safe, and they can discuss all the things that are happening within them. And that's why the spiritual co-op, is so important.
And that allows creativity to become stronger as well. I know for myself, I've been in and out of the spiritual closet so many times over my long life. And for the first time, I feel like I'm at home with myself and my spirituality publicly, as opposed to being at home and accepting myself with it privately. So I really understand what you're saying. And that was why I wanted to ask about the spiritual co-op, because it's more than an online virtual market. It's more than just an online platform. There is that underlying spirituality that sits with it, that underlying energy. And I feel it's reflective to a certain extent of your spiritual journey and the spiritual journey of all of us who have come together on that co-op. And I guess my next question around all that is, what is it that keeps you moving forward?
Well, that's the interesting thing, because the spiritual co-op is, like all of our spiritual journeys, it's extremely beautiful, but it's also bloody challenging. you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you think you deal with yourself as a spiritual being. Now put 30 people together, everyone with an opinion, everyone with that. But, I guess for me, the spiritual co-op is this melting pot. And it's a place where people can brew those ideas. Am I going on the right track here?
Yep, yep.
Yeah. It's a melting pot where people can express and start to learn to understand who they are on their journey. And that's why, when I did the logo for the spiritual co-op, I wanted it to be a circle, but it wasn't a complete full circle, because it's allowing us to be on any part of that path, whether it's fine or thick or developed or beginner. It shows us being on that path of understanding who we are and how we are developing, if that makes sense to you.
Yes. And it's okay to say, this is where I'm at right now, and that's perfectly fine.
That's correct.
You know,
That's
which
correct.
is amazing. I'd like to go back to your own personal spiritual world for a
Yep.
moment. And I would like to ask you, how do you define yourself spiritually? I know I had difficulty with this question.
That is a very difficult one, because I am so eclectic. And I think that is why I came up with the term, the elemental alchemist. I'm quite elemental myself. There is a little fey being in me, and and I dabble in a few different things. So I consider myself a witch. I am a spiritual being. I work with the elements. Um, I work, yeah, I guess so. I think that my spirituality is very earth-based, as much
Yeah.
as it is, universal and all that. It's very much earth-based, because if you look at what I do, I work hands-on healing. I help people connect with the spiritual side. I help people look at their patterns. I work with crystals. I work with herbs. Um, and my spirituality is more about I guess the term, you are your own temple,
Beautiful.
and so it, that my spirituality revolves around me developing me as a person. And really, at the end of the day, is to do good, to do something nice, because it doesn't matter what religion you go under. Their end product is about going to heaven, reaching nirvana, all of these little things. And I think we as human, this is what we're trying to find within ourselves. And so spirituality is what you define for you. For me, spirituality is really having a really good understanding of yourself and being able to express yourself in the most authentic way. And I think that in essence, for me, is spirituality. Yeah.
That's beautiful. It really is. And it is about that. And it's about allowing us to express more than what is in front of you. It's about expressing more than just the personality. It is allowing the soul and the spirit to express the greater part of ourselves, the higher self, if you want, out into the world, but we ground it in a practical way. And I feel that that's what you do with a lot of your work. So I've got another question for you. Are you a person who likes to map out your way forward, or are you a person who prefers more to go with the flow and see what happens?
This is an interesting one. Okay, so I am a Sagittarian with an Aries rising and a Taurian moon.
Da-da-da-da.
Yeah. So you know, the Taurian moon part of me really likes to know where I'm going so that I'm comfortable with it. I'm a list writer. I will mind map, you know, as long as my mother can remember. She always said, you know, you always had 10-year plans, 15-year plans, but then you'll do something and all of it will go out the drain. It'll fly out the window and you will just go with the flow. And that is a, you know, it's such a polarity, a dichotomy for me, because part of me wants to be really, really organized. But the Sagittarian free flowing side of me wants everything to just flow. And when it doesn't flow, I get frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing about the things that we do is that, you know, spirituality is all about the good, the bad, the ugly, isn't it? And it's
Oh, it sure
understanding,
is.
yeah, and it's and understanding that process allows you to understand how you work as well. So, you know, for me, I realized that I need to have a list. So I always, as young as I can remember, I've always walked around. I think I got this from my dad. Always walked around with a little pad, a notepad, and I would write. I always have a notepad by my bed because if I wake up, I will write it down, and I will listen. I'll listen. I'll list, and then I'll work my way through it. But at the same time, synchronicities, you know, and this is the luck of, you know, with Jupiter in the house of sorry, I don't know how to
Sag.
say this. It's
Yeah,
Sag,
Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius. Yeah.
Sagittarius, you know, it is the sign of luck. And sometimes I do allow myself to just flow with it and see where the world takes me, you know, and I've had to learn to really trust in my instinct and not be afraid of that. So if something tells me that I need to go there, I will go there now. Once upon a time, I would have probably sat there and, you know, questioned myself and, you know, used the pendulum, pulled out the cards, done all of that and then not do anything at all.
And then giving yourself a lot of reasons why you shouldn't do it.
That's exactly right, you know, and that's the whole thing in our spiritual journey. We learn to love and trust ourselves, and that
it
is
does come down to trust, doesn't it?
It does. It really,
and
really
that's
does.
walking your talk. When you trust your own, you know, we have a spiritual life. Many of us are now coming out of the closet and we're walking our path, and it is about walking our own talk.
That's right.
Trusting.
And it's not to say that we still can't ask people for opinion and get second, you know. That's all important, because at the end of the day, we're human. And as human, we're social beings. We need that interaction. We need that support.
Absolutely.
And we need our tribe.
Yeah, and we also need a sounding board, for want of a better term, because sometimes when you have something inside you and you feel, wow, I've got to get this out into the world, or I've got to do it, talking it over with someone else that you trust can give you a different perspective on how you can weave it forward.
Yes, and it also gives you the, I want to say clarity, but it's not actually, the confirmation that,
yes,
you know, that you're on the right track, because, you know, most of the time we already know the answers deep inside us.
We do.
We just need someone. Sometimes we just need someone outside who doesn't know us, or someone, you know, who is honest enough to us and with us to spark that confidence in ourselves. Because, you know, confidence, trust, all of this doesn't come naturally. You know, everything
it definitely doesn't.
Everything we're taught from the time we're children, you know, like in the Catholic faith, you know, we're taught that not to trust your own instinct. God will tell you what to do. You know, here is a garden, enjoy the garden. Don't eat that apple, and, you know, don't question. And it's important to question. It's important to break down those boundaries. So a lot of things that we are doing in our spiritual life is actually breaking down those old habits that we've picked up along the way. And then in breaking those habits, we are learning to accept ourselves and trust in our own abilities.
And accepting ourselves with all the frailties and with all the not so nice pieces that become part of us at different times, because to me, experiencing what you called earlier the ugly is just as important as experiencing the beautiful, because from the ugly you can discover deeper aspects, deeper things about yourself that you didn't realize, and you can work with those in a more positive way.
That's exactly right, you know, and I think this is where a lot of the new age teaching that is coming in is quite scary like that, because you know we talk about fairy dust and unicorn poop and you know all of that, but what they're failing to look at is that shadow side of whom we are, which is as equally important as all the other facets of who we are. And if we deny that shadow, if we deny you know that part that we are you know or we're afraid of that part, we actually never develop that side of it. And
But it's always there, it's always repressed inside if it's not brought to the light and dealt with.
that's exactly right, you know, and
Mm.
I always use the analogy. I mean, if I put my hand up right now, everything has a shadow. You know, there'd be a nice light side here, but the shadow is under there, so everything will cast a
Yeah.
shadow. And it's part of you know our the duality of the world that we live in, you know, so we need to really embrace the duality of that. And until you can embrace the light and the dark, you never truly embrace who you are.
Mm.
You know, and that's why I always say to my friends, I said, you know, with me, I'm very blunt, I'm very honest, I'll tell you exactly the way it is, you know, and there'll be times that I will be angry, and I'm not going to be afraid of being angry. I'm not going to be afraid of hiding who I am anymore. You know, there's a part of me that now has learned to be unapologetically me.
And anger is a healthy emotion.
It
People don't,
is.
people think anger and all of those things are unhealthy and we shouldn't be feeling them, but they're part of our survival mechanism. If we don't get
Yes.
angry about something, how can we stand up for it? How can we stand up against something that we're angry about, that we feel isn't fair in the world or right in the world?
And that's how
So it's important.
majority of our activists, you know, from Joan of Arc to Gandhi, you know, all of them actually stood up
Yes.
what it is. And you know, Andrew Harvey talks about sacred activism and the divine rebel. And you know, these things. I mean, I've personally worked with Andrew
Mm.
running retreats, and so I've seen him in action. And the work that he does is so pertinent to what's going on, because we do need to get angry about the state of the earth. We do need to get angry because this anger fuels the change.
It does. And, and,
And
and, and appropriately directed, it can
that's
create very positive results.
That's right. And that's understanding that, again, the light, the shade of
Yeah.
it all, and learning to
Alchemy.
balance.
The
Oh,
alchemist is at it again.
that's it. That's it. We've unleashed something in you, haven't we, Leslie?
Oh, look, I've always, like you, I've always been eclectic and dabbled here and dabbled there. But I've got Capricorn rising, so you can imagine boundaries, rules,
Yeah,
planning. So I have the same push-pull that you have.
yeah, yeah. I love it.
What is your end goal for the spiritual co-op, the Teapot Teas? And what is the end goal around any other part or business that you might like to manifest? Is there a single end goal for everything that you do?
I don't know. This is a really tough question because I feel there's so much to be done. And so to say there is an end is really hard because, you know, I don't work that way. You know, that it's learning and growing. Is there ever an end unless you die?
And even then,
And even then, exactly, we are still, you know, if you believe in reincarnation, you will come back again and do all of it again. So I don't believe there is an end goal. With Teapot Teas, I would really like it to get out to the world. I'd love to spread that message of my love of tea and herbs to the world. I wanted to spread understanding what herb lore is about. I want to teach people about understanding the herbs, reading the herbs, you know, like in my tea leaf reading classes. I want people to learn all of that. And I think for me, and for a lot of us in the co-op, we are all custodians of certain modalities and certain, you know, we're custodians of a little bit of our expertise. And
Yes.
for anyone who is a master, a teacher, we need to help move the lineage. We need to pass this lineage on and make sure that all these rituals, traditions, moves on from one generation to another. And, you know, and I truly believe that this is what creates our society. I mean, this is what we are built on, traditions and rituals. And so anyone who has asked me, you know, what my legacy is, my legacy would actually be to pass down the rituals and custodianship of whatever I am doing at
Beautiful.
the moment. Yeah.
Beautiful. Look, it's been so much fun turning the tables on you today, Andrew.
Yeah.
I hope it hasn't been too grueling for you.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's really interesting because it's all in there, and I'm always the one doing the asking. And I forget that my story is just as important sometimes, you know, and I think that happens with a lot of our light workers, isn't it? A lot of people that
we put ourselves in the background and we allow the others to step forward. And that's what you've been doing with Teapot Teas. That's what you've been doing with the Spiritual Co-op. And that's why I was going to force you, wasn't it a terrible thing to say, but I was going to force you to be interviewed because I felt that you really needed to be able to tell your story, because it's a fascinating story. Your background is so interesting, and I love how you've brought everything together in the form that it's in now. And I will be very excited to see how that form shapes and moves as you move forward with not just what you're doing with the Spiritual Co-op and Teapot Teas and your healing work, but also for you as a person, how you evolved through that as well. I just think and that applies to all of us because we are all evolving.
I know it's something that that scares me, excites me, thrills me all at the same time, because to be honest, most of the time I have no idea where I'm going. I like to follow my intuition down there with that and just go with the flow. And I guess the more I learn to get to know myself, the more I have realized that there is a bigger plan. We don't always need to know what that bigger plan is, but we need to continually grow ourselves and understand ourselves to hold the space and allow that to happen. And I think this is what I'm doing with the Spiritual Co-op right now, you know, and we are all doing this together, but you know, it's about holding space to allow a new thing to be created, to allow people to come together and form a community, people that may not have communities, that are looking for a place to explore themselves and their spirituality. And
it's perfectly okay to do that. It's perfectly okay to focus on the self.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. So that's what I'm really looking forward.
Andrew the Alchemist on the Continuum.
That's exactly right.
There you go. There's your title. So we have a Spiritual Co-op virtual marketplace coming up this weekend, and the theme is celebrations. I'm so excited about this theme, so much so that on the live I did do a little song about celebrate good times come on. We're not going to do that again. But how did you come up with that theme?
The themes is a bit of a collective thing right now. So the Spiritual Co-op is run by me, Michelle Innes of Twisted by Mish, and Bianca DeRose, who is the Soul Connector. And every week we actually get together and have a meeting to figure out what's going on. And we've actually just done the next 3 months themes
Wow.
as well. But yeah, so we decided that with the market, you know, it's easier for people to market themselves. It's easier for people to have a focus when you give someone a theme to work with, because otherwise, you know, you'll get every Tom, Dick, and Harry putting all different, you know, weird and wonderful stuff. But having a theme allows people to harness in on their modalities, you know, see their modality in a different way and express themselves in a different way. So every time we choose a theme, we think about how it will fit with all the different people that we have. This actually goes into our head, you know. So when we talk about celebration, what are we celebrating? What is it we're doing? You know, who are the people? What are we celebrating about? Why do we need a little bit? Why do we need the fun? Celebration is about fun. Celebration is about exuberance. It's about joy. It's about an end goal. And with an end goal, it's about new beginnings, because celebrations can be new beginnings. So,
Absolutely.
you know, when we think of themes, this is you know, our thought process behind it. You know, if it's ritual, are we doing, you know, is it for people who are selling products to do with ritual, or are we teaching about ritual? Are we learning about ritual? You know, all these little nuances comes in, and it allows people to see spirituality from a different way. And, you know, look, for us old cronies who have been doing this a long time, it actually gives us a nice kick in the butt to look at how we're talking about what we do, doesn't
I
it?
can certainly attest to that. Since I've been doing the spiritual co-op with you, I mean, I love creating, but having the theme to hang your hat on has allowed me to actually put my services, my wares, whatever out there in a completely different way. And it's been wonderful, because it's opened up. Because as you say, you know, when you do the same thing, like I've been doing this work for 20 odd years as a profession, as opposed to just doing it, you know, privately before, and you kind of fall into a lane, and I find the themes pop me into another lane and look at what I do from a new perspective, and how can I put that forward in a new perspective. So that's why I think the themes are absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I agree with that, you know, and sometimes, like, you know, now that we've done it for almost 3 or 4 months, and at one stage we had a theme a day. So, you know, we've been churning through those themes, and it's starting to get a little bit more daunting to think of something interesting and something different that will spark some creativity.
Well, I think the theme of celebrations this weekend is really good, because with all of the restrictions we have around COVID-19 and uncertainty in the world, finding something to celebrate during difficult times, I think, is really important to do. So I hope everyone will come across to the virtual marketplace on the Spiritual Co-op Group Facebook page and look at all the wares, see what everyone is offering, because everyone in the group is amazing with what they're offering, and see what resonates for you. Is there anything you'd like to add about this weekend's market?
No, I think you've covered it all, but, you know, I'd like to really thank all our stall holders that have been so patient with us, you know, because we've had a lot of trial and error, and you know, we're creating on the fly at the moment. So, you know, thank you for being patient, and thank you for all those people coming in and joining us to be a part of the community. And also, if you want to be a part of the community, you know, hop onto the spiritualcoop.com, and you know, you can come and advertise in our directory and be part of the community and be part of the market, or sell your wares at our virtual market. You know, this is important. This is the time right now to be brave. And it's the time for you to shine. You know, there's no time like today. So, you know, allow yourself to seize the day. Trust in your instinct, and come aboard with the Spiritual Co-op, and realize, come and see the people that we have there, because they are an amazing bunch. all of us are willing to help each other. You know, if there's an issue we have on Facebook, someone will pop a message and go, how do we do this? Help me, I'm pulling my hair out. And everyone will jump in and help as much as they can. And this is that whole idea of being able to pool all our resources so that we can shine and we can also really flourish with our strengths, skills, talents, and abilities, and allow other people to help us where our shadow is and where we lack.
And it's wonderful because there's no restriction. You don't even have to leave home.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Look, Andrew, thank you for allowing me to interview you today, because it's been great hearing your story. And are we doing lives on Tuesday again? Tuesday night?
Yes, we are. Yes, so, you know, we'll be back on with Pop the Kettle On and live mini readings. I'm not sure who will be on next Tuesday, but Leslie and I will be definitely on for sure. And when it's the two of us on, you'll know it'll be a Spitfire reading night because non-stop.
All that fire energy.
That's right. That's right. So make sure you join us on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. as well.
Thank you, Andrew. And remember, the Spiritual Co-op Group can be your new community. Until next time.
Thank you. And from our heart to yours, take care of yourself and the people around you. Bye.
Bye.